Hello, my name is Chris Campbell, and we welcome you to another episode of One-on-One, where our guest for this installment is health and wellness guru, entrepreneur, and the first African-American winner of the coveted Miss USA competition, Carole Gist. Welcome to the show, madam.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Well, we'll get right into it. We've got a lot of ground to cover. You've got a wonderful and amazing story. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Talk about growing up in Detroit. And did you always aspire to compete in pageants? How did that start?
It's funny that you would ask that. Of course not. One, you just mentioned that no woman of color had won. So I definitely, growing up, did not envision myself actually ever competing. I did enjoy watching the Miss America pageant occasionally and was excited when Vanessa Williams won, but still hadn't thought about competing. I was all the tomboy. I was everything athletics, and I did dance for many years, but I did come to a place where I had to make a choice between dance and sports, and I chose sports. But I did get my early competitive drive from being on the competition dance team. And before I took my hat off, hung up my point shoes and my ballet shoes and picked up a volleyball and ran hurdles and track.
Now, in terms of pageantry,
Yes.
you had been competing in pageants since around age 12, right?
Yeah, the very first one, and it wasn't technically the pageant like we see today. It was just a category under a bigger umbrella through the system that the dance school that I was attending participated in, and which was North American Pageant Systems at the time. And yes, it has the word pageant in it, but we do know that pageant doesn't just mean what we see with Miss America and Miss USA. You know, you can have a Christmas pageant. It's just any type of performance. And so that was my first introduction to it. Again, I guess competing was first dance competition and doing a solo or a duet, and then trying my hat at competitive modeling. And I got official at 12 when I was discovered actually in a mall star search. And I won a scholarship to John Robert Powers Modeling School. And I went through their program, graduated from their program, and even before I graduated, I was getting modeling work through a modeling agency and doing all the local fashion shows when we once had malls, once upon a time. I'm probably dating myself. A mall. We had Southland, Westland, Eastland, Northland, Summit Mall, as well as Somerset Mall. And I would do fashion shows at all of those. And so that's pretty much where that part got started.
Now, you competed in the Miss Michigan pageant, won that, went on to Miss USA. And I remember actually watching that, and I think all of Michigan felt a collective sense of pride when you made it to the finalists and then won the pageant. Describe what was going through your mind as that was happening.
Woo! Butterflies in the stomach, numb feet. Feet were numb. Might as well have not had feet because I couldn't feel them. And my mind I was trying to keep it calm because I knew I had to still answer questions. But I'm like, as they cut it down from, I went down to 6, and I'm like, I'm still in it. And when they first did the first cut at 12, I was so excited that all 3 women of color, was only 3 of us in the pageant. So 3 out of 51 had made it to the top 12. So I was so excited. I felt like that was a nod to the quality of the ladies that had competed, women of color who had competed that year. And then they went from that to 6, and I was like, oh, I'm still in it. And then from 6 to 3, and I'm like, oh my God, this is still possible. And it was just amazing. I was just thinking about being the first from Michigan, the first woman of color, and that this was possible, and that I would make my family and my state proud, my alma mater, Cass Tech, proud. I was just thinking of all the good that would come from that moment.
Now, you were the first African American to win that crown, so you were a pioneer and a trailblazer. Was there pressure to live up to that designation?
I did feel some pressure. I wanted to make sure that as much as we all love Vanessa Williams, I just didn't want any kind of controversy in my mind that could tarnish the win and possibly make it harder for another woman of color to follow. Or let that be an obstacle for another one to follow, to make it harder for them. And I just wanted to, I always had in the back of my mind, before I did anything or said anything, would I make my family proud? Would I be, my future children, would they be embarrassed? You know, I just didn't want to bring shame or tarnish the crown in any way. So, and that's how I looked at it. I just wanted to be able to hold my head up high, and anything that I did, it would be to make the path better for those to follow after me.
Now, grace and elegance were qualities that best described you and qualities that you exuded as Miss USA. How important was it to you to actually be a role model to aspiring women of color? Because your win and the way you won really impacted generations that came after you. How did that impact you?
Well, I want to say in impacting me, I did sometimes overthink things or second guess myself, but I always wanted to be just true to myself, and I think I did a very good job in trying to do that. The one aspect that I felt the most pressure from was representing us wrong somehow, or being looked at as whitewashed, so to speak, or that I didn't understand what it meant to struggle. I encountered that a lot of times when I spoke with, because my platform was working with troubled youth and partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of America. And I wanted to help inspire young people to hold on to their dreams, fight for their dreams. Whether you've seen someone do what you desire to do or not, it is possible if you stick with it and don't get dissuaded. You know, denial or delay does not mean denial, I should say. And so I had to debunk a lot of misunderstandings. People would assume that I grew up wealthy and that I came from a good home and that I didn't know anything about struggle. And I didn't want to highlight necessarily the struggle, but I didn't want them to think that that was the case, because it wasn't. So I had to come, in order to be relatable and real to them, to inspire them, I did have to let them know. I was like, no, I came from a broken home, and drug addiction and abuse was a part of my childhood, and even a tenure of homelessness, I should say, a stint of homelessness. And abandonment was a part of my childhood. But that doesn't have to define who you are. No matter what happens to you, it doesn't have to become or define who you are. So you either use those things as stepping blocks or stepping stones to where you want to go, instead of as obstacles or stumbling blocks. So I'm like, take those lemons and learn how to make lemonade. And that was my main message to young people and to anyone who would hear my voice and be impacted by what I had to say. So,
absolutely. Now, your trajectory didn't stop there. You also went on to compete in the Miss Universe pageant, and you ended up being the first runner-up. So this is a global platform, and you were the first runner-up in the Miss Universe pageant. What were some of the major differences that you saw and experienced between the Miss USA and the Miss Universe pageants? And what was your methodology in terms of preparation? What were the differences in preparation for both of those?
Well, major difference was I was already traveling and going sometimes 2 and 3 cities, 2 or 3 states in one day. And on this on-the-go type of schedule up until it was time to show up at Miss Universe. So I really didn't have the same type of prep in terms of I'm at home and I'm working out and I'm watching CNN and reading the Wall Street Journal, and I'm in school. So I'm staying up with my studies. It was just totally different. I was already traveling as Miss USA and making appearances. And one of the things that I did feel a little run down, you know, from this whirlwind that I just embarked on from March to May when we competed for Miss Universe. Plus there were like 30 other new women. It's not 51, it was like 79. It was a larger number. And now you have some language barriers, but it was amazing, and how we were still able to communicate and find ways to connect and share some common ground, even with limited English, broken English, just not being able to communicate the same way as I did with the other contestants at Miss USA. So besides those obvious differences, it was eye-opening, because like I just said, we were sharing our dreams even with an interpreter, and just having making a way to communicate, learning that we all, no matter what country, no matter what area, continent you were on, we are all just human beings with dreams, women with dreams and aspirations to make life better for not just ourselves, but for our families, to give our communities hope and inspiration. And some of them, like you say, from some of those other countries, they might be the first to go to a college as well, just like here in the United States. I was the first to graduate with my degree in my immediate family, with my mother and my father. And so just going and looking at life through the lens that it's not so much different. It was easier to see more of our similarities than our differences. And the other thing was the way the win laid out. The young lady that did win Miss Universe, Miss Norway, her story was somewhat similar to mine. So they kind of paralleled in how I got to Miss USA was the same story she had at Miss Universe. So I kind of could feel for her, but at the same time, it stung to only lose by 1/100th of a point. Couldn't it have been like 10 points? I would have probably felt a whole lot better about losing first place. So even though I placed first place, to know that I was that close to having Miss Universe as a second crown was, that kept me up for a few nights.
But the competition was legendary. I think many Detroiters vividly remember those, and because you competed with such grace, such elegance, I think you made this whole state proud. So you can definitely hang your hat on that. Now, talk a little bit about some of the inherent challenges that you face with relation to a person's stereotypical views on beauty, and how you work to overcome that.
I don't know if we can ever overcome it. It's just, I'm so proud of where we are today. And I know, you know, we can say change is going to come. That was a beautiful song. I know change is going to come. And even though change has happened, we still have so much further still to go. It's like the closer we get to seeing some progress, we realize how much further we still have yet to go. But I'm just grateful for the freedom and the embracement of not women of color, women of all shapes and sizes, to just embrace their inner beauty and their natural beauty, and even how they wear their hair. And that's such a huge thing in the Black community. And that the fact that I'm on this show with you with my hair somewhat natural, I pull it up because I didn't want it to be bigger than, you know, where it couldn't fit in the screen. Because it could get pretty big. But I would have never back then come on camera with my hair in my natural state. So there was still even some changing within myself to be okay and comfortable with embracing, even though, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but back then you wanted to portray what you thought was the accepted standard of beauty, which was, of course, straightening my hair and loose body curls or straight or whatever. And I would have, to the fact that I can do this today and feel very comfortable with my hair just like this, is a testament to see how we've evolved in that respect. And I love seeing them wear their short hair, not feeling pressure to put in hair extensions, or to have to straighten it and curl it, but to rock their natural curly pattern, and be different and creative with how they display their coif. However, instead of what they think someone else's idea of beauty would be and how they should wear it, but they're wearing it how they actually want to wear it. So I love that. And it's a freedom in that. And hopefully that can continue, not just for women of color, but even any of the other white young ladies, that Indian young ladies, those who compete in the hijabs. I mean, however, they're covering their hair. And then you have those, instead of just having to have it down and off to the one side, you're seeing the ponytail, you're seeing the sleek to one side, you're seeing the bun, the high crown on the, just doing a whole lot of different things, and not just even wearing their hair one specific way. So
yes, so happy to see a lot of progress in that area. Definitely.
Yes, and then dress it for their gown, wear their hair that is appropriate for their neckline, their décolleté with their gown, and to complement their facial shape, or the earrings that they, maybe the earrings are a focal point to go with their dress, so they're wearing their hair back away from their ears. Just flow with it and let the fashion and the style and the grace that you want to portray through your style even reflect in your hair. So
indeed. Now, in recent years, you have been tapped to consult with and actually share your expertise with various pageant contestants, regionally, even nationally. Kind of give us an idea of how you've been able to use your expertise to mentor some of the contemporary participants in these pageants.
Yes, for a number of years, I have had pageant coaching. It was a part of my wheelhouse. And I'm a teacher at heart. I think that's a part of my gifting. I love, even with the fitness, it's like I just want to help people be the best or become the best version of themselves, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally. And so I can have fitness coaching, as a coach and an athletic director, to, even pageant coaching, in terms of how to polish it up and represent yourself with the best grace, and help toughen you up to be able to display that grace under pressure with the most ease. You could be shaking in your boots, but as long as you don't look like you are. To me, that was grace under pressure. So being able to work with some young people through the same dance competition pageant system initially, and then moving on to some local pageants. And I started a lot with the 10, 12, 14, the teen, the youth and the teen categories. But then later, I would say about 10 years ago, I had more young women, the Miss categories, and even the Mrs. coming to me for pageant prep. And it was just fun, because I had to stay involved and stay with how things were evolving and changing with pageantry, to be able to give them the best advice possible. But what's timeless is always just learning how to polish the best version of you, and not trying to be what you think someone else wants you to be, because there is no right or wrong if it's yours. You own your opinion, you own your voice, and when you can speak your truth in love in a way that it's not offensive to anyone, you don't have to worry about even the controversial topics of the day, because you just speak your truth in love and own it, and you're able to, because that's what their judges are always looking for. I've been able to go back and judge as well. Preliminary, even for Miss USA, preliminary, I feel like the preliminary judges have the toughest part of the job, because finals night, they're only going from 15. We had to cut it down from 51 to the 15. So we had the harder job of making it easier for the live telecast finals. But just being able to inspire young women to find their voice, own it, and present it in a polished package, I should say. It's like, just tie it all up with a ribbon. You have the walk, you have the smile and the graciousness with how you speak and able to deliver your message, because nowadays everyone has to have a platform, whether it's a charity or something that they aspire to be involved in that makes positive change in their community. And so being able to communicate whatever that goal or that charity or that platform is, with the most to the point, shortened synopsis possible, was just always just a fun task for me to take on, and it kept me connected to the pageant and feeling like I could still have a mark to help other young women shoot for the moon and grab their star on the way down with that new crown. So,
absolutely. Now, fitness has always been important to you, and it's been synonymous with you throughout the years. You are a wellness coordinator and personal fitness trainer for Wayne State University. You also have your own company on the side, Royal Physique Fitness, which also promotes fitness and wellness in the community. Kind of talk about your work in fitness and wellness and what your primary goals and objectives are.
Always to help people be healthy. Too many of our members in our community are dying of preventable diseases. They could be hereditary, and they may be common, but that doesn't mean it has to remain that way. We don't have to accept it. And if we can just walk a little bit more, eat a little bit healthier, and get a little bit more sleep, we can make huge improvements in our health and set a good example for the next generation to follow. So, one of the things that even when we're working with adults and parents is recognizing your children are watching you. They're watching you and receiving what they're receiving and imprinting in them is more than what you just tell them. More is caught than is taught. So they need to see the example of activity and healthy cooking and eating and getting rest and having that downtime, that spiritual connection. All of that is ingredients for having good health and wellness overall, not just, a workout, because you can't outrun your mouth and you can't change your body alone with just diet, because you can lose weight and then a lot like what you see without strengthening through resistance training. And we need to do it to have healthy bones and healthy posture, to be able to stand tall even into our 80s and 90s. No one says we have to shriek and be bowed over and hunched and can't stand up straight even when we age. So as long as we can do things that keep our skeletal frame strong and eat healthy to keep our heart and our lungs healthy, we can survive a whole lot more and don't have to die of heart disease and hypertension and diabetes or COVID. In this day and age, we don't have to die of the COVID either, or fear if you do catch it. There's a lot of fear around. If you catch it, it is a death sentence, and it's not a death sentence. More people have survived it than have died from it, but we don't talk about that number. We only talk about the death number. And I'm, again, healthy living, healthy input, healthy output. It's like garbage in, garbage out. That sentiment with the computer analogy is very true, whereas cliche or not, is very true. You put garbage in, you're gonna get garbage out. So that's it. Can I put my petition in? Please eat healthier. Please exercise just a little bit even for your family. Do it for your family. Like you wear a mask for your family and for those around you that you love. Do those things just as fervently and consistently on a daily basis. Not sporadically, but consistently. So that's my plea. All right, I'll get off of that.
All right. Now, speaking of family, in recent years, you've married, you're raising a family. How have your previous experiences helped to inform you in your role as wife, mother, and et cetera?
Well, I'm not married now. And, but I did learn a lot through those years of being married. And I lost sight of myself. So that was one major lesson that I learned. And though I was doing what I thought was the best that I could do for my children and trying to give out to give the best to my spouse at the time, I lost sight of me. And I didn't realize how important self-care is, even for yourself, even if you're a mother or a wife. You can't do all of those other things to the best of your ability without taking that time. It is not selfish to take care of yourself first, and to have a goal and a purpose and a mission within yourself that's separate from that. Working on that for yourself will help you have better focus and direction and encouragement and just a joy out of life that you're modeling before your children and for your husband. So I lost sight of that, and that's where I actually got up to my heaviest ever. And at about 248 pounds, I did not recognize myself. I did not feel good. My back and my knees hurt, and I knew this was not a good place to be in. But I battled with depression and, no crown, don't know where I'm going forward. And I just allowed life to kind of weigh me down. And it was through that journey to find healing and wholeness for myself is where I was actually reborn, and fitness saved my life. And when I say it, it's not just for me physically working out, even though that became a goal, but it took the focus off of me and what I thought was wrong in my life to help other people find what was good in theirs. And so in that transformation for myself, in that journey to get healthier and better, when I saw that I was helping tens and hundreds of women do that for themselves, the bell went off. And that is when Royal Physique Fitness was born, literally. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was help empower other women to get healed and be whole, but get past their traumas of their youth, to be baggage free, to move forward, to be all that they were meant to be, that they were born and created and crafted to be. I need you to do your part. I need you to be all that you were meant to be, fulfill your destiny purpose. You make my world better when you do you destiny purposeful. That was my mission. And I believe that is a part of my destiny, is to continue to do that for other people, is helping them become the best version of themselves. Because if they can fulfill their purpose, our cities, our families first, then our communities, then our cities and our state and our world will be better.
Yes. Now, we're going to touch a little bit on education, because that's always been a very important proponent of you. And we're going to go all the way back to our alma mater, Cass Tech. Talk about how education has informed every step of your success, and then why it's so important for women, especially women of color, to really embrace education.
Well, for me, I'm an accomplished, driven person. I like to achieve things. So, doing well at Cass and graduating and getting scholarship and both academics and athletics, that was great. Could have finished dual bachelor's in 3 years, but I took 1 year off to be Miss USA, so I ended up graduating in 4 years anyway. But that 1 year was for Miss USA. I just recently finished a second master's. My first one was in kinesiology. I did get both of those from Wayne State, kinesiology and now sports administration. And wanting to move forward with, again, learning, growing, expanding my knowledge of how to help people be the best, healthiest version of themselves. Education is important, but I think a better sense of knowing who you are, who you were meant to be, not someone else's version of who they think you should be, but what you were ordained from birth to do, is more important even than that. As much as I don't know, as much as I will applaud someone for accomplishing an academic goal, to be real and know what you were born and meant to do, I think is the best life diploma, certificate, degree that you can earn, because I think that's where you'll be the most happiest when you really know what you were meant to do, nothing in this world can stop you from doing it. And then it's up to us to gain the knowledge, to finish that out, and to do it to the best of our ability. So.
Now, speaking of reaching your potential, doing things to the best of your ability, what are some words of advice that you would offer to not only young women of color who are looking to perhaps get into the world of pageantry, but just into any professional field that demands a certain level of commitment, dedication, and the ability to overcome hurdles and obstacles? What words of wisdom and advice, based on your life, would you give to those young women?
That you can do it and you can survive. You can survive the hardest of traumas and past pains, whatever it was that was a betrayal or an abandonment. You can survive that, heal, and move forward to bloom into the most beautiful flower that is an annually blooming flower, not just one time and your petals fall off and have to be replanted. No, you can continue to bloom right where you are and affect those around you. So take whatever it is that you have in your heart that makes you smile when you think about it and make a plan. Make a vision board, a vision wall, put it on there, paint it, construction paper, magic marker, colored crayons, magazine tear outs, whatever you need to do to make it visual so that you can see it, because what you can see and keep in front of your eyes, you will achieve. So create that vision for yourself, put it in plain sight for you to see regularly, and go for it. Don't let anyone's no stop you from coming at it again, coming at it again, coming at it again, until when? You win.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything that we missed that you'd like to briefly touch on or discuss?
Well, just that, I thank you for having me. I often wonder if anything I would have to say is still relevant and still impactful for people. But I love people. I don't think I've ever met a stranger. Because I'm going even if it's the first time I meet you, we're going to know something about each other before the end of that conversation, and you are no longer a stranger. And I try to see the best in everyone. And one of the things that in my healing journey that I discovered about myself and that I now love is that I can see even someone who acts nasty or rude or disrespectful, I can see their hurt and their pain through that lens that allows me to not respond in kind, like evil for evil, but to see that hurt person there and respond to them as a merciful and gracious, loving human being. And it's not always easy to do, but I'm grateful that I learned how to do that, because I know I've been given grace and I've been given mercy for the mistakes that I've made, for the words that I wish I could take back. And so I'm even more cautious about what I say, even if I'm disappointed and hurt to someone, because I remember that pain of how I felt, and I never want to ever make anyone else feel like that. And so if we could just all love a little bit harder than we distrust, if we could love and exude or offer mercy that we would desire to receive ourselves, I think we can go a long way in creating a peaceful environment in our communities, to take even our differences and learning how to find what is similar and start there, so that we can have the most heartening thing has been seeing how race relations and even political lines have been drawn through this year during this pandemic. It has probably thrown a lot of people into depression, as much as is equally depressed as angry. But the common ground would be peace and finding love that conquers all, and that love never fails. And that love doesn't mean I like you. Even God didn't say I had to like you, but he did command us to love one another as we would desire to be loved. And so until we can get to that place where we can do that, even with someone we are opposed with on any issue, there's always something common that we would think and believe the same. We all believe red. So right there, that's one commonality. I double dare you to find a second commonality that would allow you to see them through a lens of love and mercy, and give that as you would desire to receive it. So that's it. I'm like, I would like to see us all in arms, brother and sister, no matter race, creed, or religion, and to move forward into a peaceful society. Because what we've been seeing in this last 8 months, I prayerfully hope it does not continue for another 8 months.
Yeah. Well said, well said. Now, for people that want to keep track of your journey and your activities, where can they go online to do that?
Yes, Miss USA 1990 at hotmail.com. I still have a Hotmail. I love that one. And Carole Gist .com is my web page. Carole with the E, CaroleGist.com.
All right. Carole Gist, first African-American winner of the Miss USA pageant. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Happy
New Year.
You can view this episode of One-on-One by visiting our Facebook and YouTube pages at Southfield Multimedia Services, in addition to viewing this on the channel Cable 15. For One-on-One, my name is Chris Campbell, and we will see you next time.